And a lot of times, let me say this as well. You need to just tell God thank you, whether you got the full story or not, whether you have full understanding of this or not. Get your focus off of what you don't have and just begin to tell God thank you for what you do, and thank you for the things that are unseen to you, but you are trusting God through faith that He is working on your behalf. Once again, Life According to Dana, just wanted to share this with you. Remember, check your focus. Be grateful for what you have. And with a grateful heart, give God praise and give Him the glory. It blew my mind because I had really never quite looked at it in that broader scope of things, where you're actually stealing or just diminishing what you have, and you're stealing the praise away from God because you're really acting like what He's done so far isn't enough or it's not good enough. And that is so ungrateful, but it's also dangerous because you're beating yourself out of what you have coming. We're supposed to have a grateful heart. We're supposed to have a joyful heart and all these things. But if you're so focused on what you don't have, you won't even realize that everything you're doing is geared towards getting that thing. All your posts will be about that thing. All your conversations will be about that thing. And you're so focused on getting that thing that you'd miss everything else that's going on. And that is how the enemy steals the praise away from God. Trust God that He is going to take it and He is going to bring you forth as pure gold. He is going to bring you into a place of greatness, and He is going to bring you into a place that will just absolutely blow your mind when He puts it, when when God puts it back together, and when God turns it to your good, when God takes you to those places, when people start identifying your wounds, your scars, your brokenness, but it's giving them the ability to trust you with what they're going through because they see you on the other side. I just wanted to take a moment, as always, just to encourage you, to tell you this is not where you end. You're moving through this place. You're not staying in this place. You're moving through this place. This is just somewhere you needed to stop by, but you're not going to establish a place of residence here. There is greatness in you. God is going to use you mightily. He's going to stand you up in those places that you never thought that you could stand up in. He's going to move in your life. He's going to prosper you. He's going to establish you. He's going to bring you before kings and queens. He's going to place you in great places. Never for a moment think that your brokenness or your place of shattering does not have purpose, because it does. God is going to put the pieces back together, and He is going to give you greater value when He does it. Never ever think that God is not paying attention to any area of your life, and He will turn that to the good. Watch as God moves in your life. Understand, you didn't tune into this by error. It is because God had a message for you. He wanted you to understand that He's seeing what's going on. He knows, but He has a greater purpose for it. Don't get lost in your moment. Embrace your future. Embrace the things that God has planned for you. Embrace the things that God is bringing to you. May seem unfamiliar to you, may even seem peculiar and downright cruel, but I just ask you to trust God with this thing. And out of your brokenness, out of you being shattered, there again comes an authenticity, an anointing that destroys the yoke of bondage, because people can relate to what you're saying. They identify you. They see something familiar, but they also see something familiar that has progressed beyond the point of injury. You're not supposed to stay in the place where you were wounded or you were injured. You're supposed to progress past it. And with the help of God, you can progress past the injury. You can progress past the wound. You can progress past that broken place. You can stand up in him, and you can move forward, and you become a vessel of greater value. You become a weapon against the enemy, because he thought he killed you in that place, but he didn't. All he did was he shattered you, but then God's hands came in and put you back together. You can get rid of a person out of your life, but if you never allow God to deal with the actual root cause of that thing that you're involved in, you'll just keep repeating the same thing over and over again. You were maybe overlooked as a child, or you maybe were overlooked in a marriage. And so now, you're looking for this validation. So the first thing or first person that comes along and tell you you're pretty, or you sing well, or something like that, or you can preach, the word, whatever. Now you all sucked up in this, and you just getting ready to repeat a cycle and repeat a pattern, and you will just lose your mind trying to get that validation. You won't even recognize that you're compromising your morals. You're compromising the things that you've already learned, just trying to get that approval, trying to get that validation. And you have to allow God to break the cycles. You have to allow God to break those areas out of your life, or you will always be running after the wrong thing. If you have felt like the underdog, or you have felt that nobody acknowledges you or recognizes you for who you are or what you do or whatever, you'll be running after the wrong things. Trust me, you will. You'll be running after positions. You'll be running after titles. You'll be running after validation. And you won't even realize that's the thing that you're really running after. You're so busy trying to be validated by man that you miss the validation that's already on you from God. You have to break the pattern off. You have to allow God to heal that place of injury, because that's where it stems from. A lot of things that we're experiencing in these cycles, these repeat patterns, are just simply the enemy coming back and trying the doors. Sometimes he's gaining access, but if you begin to identify the patterns and the cycles that you keep repeating over and over again in your life, that will help you identify when your door is being rattled. So, as we go through this situation, or we identify this situation and we involve God in it, then this is allowing these doors to be sealed. That's allowing these doors to be just basically removed out of our lives. Doesn't mean that the enemy won't come back and try, because he has success in this area, but it's giving you the equipment, or it's giving you the discernment to recognize it for what it really is. I just think the enemy hits us in our emotions, or in a place of vulnerability, where he doesn't want you to think that what you're doing is important. And that's a lie. You're being more impactful than you could ever imagine. And that is why the enemy is trying to render you silent. He never messes with things that he already has control over, but he will come after the things that God is using to make a powerful sound, a resounding sound into the kingdom. If you're being attacked, where you feel like what you're saying or what you're doing isn't being impactful, look around. Look around at the lives that are really being changed. You may not be seeing the amount of success that you feel like you should be getting for what you're putting out, but don't be discouraged. Don't be dismayed, because you're making a louder noise in the kingdom than you could ever imagine. To the leaders, keep fighting, keep pushing, keep speaking, keep sowing, keep moving. Don't allow the enemy to stop you here. Don't walk away from that which God is giving you charge of. Don't walk away from the things that you're doing. Don't shut down. Don't allow the enemy to silence your voice. Don't allow the enemy to move in your life at a capacity that hinders your destiny. It's, again, I say, it's not happenstance that you're hearing this, because God knows where you are. He always knows where you are. He knows you're discouraged today. So he's sending a word to give light to that situation, to speak life to you, to bring you to a place where you're recognizing that it may not be evident right now, but by faith, you're believing that it's having an impact. I used to jokingly kind of say it that we need a Holy Ghost induced memory loss. Sometimes when deliverance, true deliverance from God occurs in our life, we can hear that name, we can hear that place mentioned, and that thought may come back to our mind, but it comes back as a form of a testimony or just a triumphant memory instead of you reliving the pain or having a flashback, is what it's really technically called, where it feels like you're actually in that situation again, or that you're reliving that situation in real time, and it's really just a memory. So I'm talking about allowing God to heal those areas, allowing God to move inside of you at a capacity where you know the incident happened, but the pain isn't pain anymore. I don't want this to have the ability or the impact in my life to be able to take me into a place of depression or despair. I want this just to be a memory that I can use as a weapon against the enemy. And I promise you, God will do the same thing for you. He will take that place and He will let it be a light that shines forth in the kingdom, in the world, because you do not have to go all the way back through it or relive the trauma or relive the crisis where it brings you into a place of anxiety, or where you're reliving this, having a flashback about this situation. It can be something, yep, it's a memory, it's there, but it doesn't have an effect on you any longer. It loses its hold. It loses its ability to be able to take you to someplace you don't want to go. Your confidence and your trust has to be in that situation, just like it is when we experience trauma and crisis. It has to be that our trust and our reliance is on God. There is a resilience that comes up out of us in the face of adversity. And a lot of the resilience is a result of being able to move past, being able to press past that situation, that incident, that individual, and moving, pressing in, moving forward towards a greater thing, towards a greater purpose. Your testimony is that greater purpose.